Who doesn't like to kick back and enjoy a good meal at a restaurant? But for many of us, this is a lost luxury during the pandemic. But is restaurant dining really as dangerous as some studies are claiming? It's a lot to swallow. So joining me with more insight is infectious disease specialist Dr. Gandhi and restaurant analyst David Henkes. Hey guys, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Let me start with you. Dr. Gandhi, what is it about indoor restaurants that can be problematic?
I think it really has to do with the fact that you just can't, by definition, wear a mask when you're eating or drinking. And then because we think that ventilation and air, sweeps the virus away, indoor settings are more risky than outdoor settings. Now, that doesn't mean that indoor settings can't be arranged so that they can be safe, but there's a hodgepodge of indoor and outdoor settings at this point, and we have to ensure the basic public health principles are kept, right? So that is keeping away from each other, so spacing out those tables, keeping ventilation in the restaurant, which is actually achievable, like there is in planes, for example, and then masking when people are ordering, and also kind of staying in smaller groups, usually, hopefully, groups that you're hanging out with anyway, so that you don't wear masks around.
You know, David, the restaurant industry, dining industry, just like other industries, is getting crushed by the pandemic for lots of reasons. Now winter's approaching. There was some relief. A lot of restaurants were allowed to open up outside. Cities allowed them to take over streets and sidewalks that they didn't have before. Now it's going to start getting cold. What's going to happen now?
Certainly, as someone who lives in Chicago, I can tell you that dining outside in January here or other areas in the upper Midwest is going to be very challenging to figure out. Places that have, the space can set up tents and heaters outside, but if it's minus 20 degrees outside, it's just not going to work, and it's going to be really challenging. And so until these restrictions, the capacity constraints are lifted, outside dining that has really been a benefit, but certainly not a savior for these restaurants. And we get a lot of questions about how long it'll take to recover back to 2019 levels. And for a lot of these restaurant segments, it's probably 4, 5, 6 years, maybe more to make up the losses. And so, there's some pent-up demand. Customers want to come back, but probably at least a quarter of them, based on some research we just did, tell us that the surest sign that they can return to a restaurant is to see an effective vaccine come to market. And as we know, that may or may not happen anytime soon.
So what kind of safety measures should restaurants, David, from your perspective, should they be putting in place, or have they? The airlines, by the way, has done a great job of cleaning it up. It's not perfect, but they've done the best they can to sanitize and all new technology. How about restaurants?
Yeah, as we talk to customers, consumers, the biggest driver right now for deciding where to go out right now is whether someone feels safe at a restaurant. And I think at nearly every restaurant realizes that and wants to put their customers at ease. And I think it's important to remind, patrons that restaurants have always been a pretty regulated industry with health inspections and other safety regulations that are already in place. And I think it's fair to say that most restaurants take safety very seriously and make it a top priority. And so, over the last 6 months, there's been a huge investment in things that were never needed before, plexiglass and PPE and enhanced sanitization processes. A lot of them are monitoring temperatures of people coming in, if not customers, certainly employees. And to be honest, it's another pretty major cost driver for businesses that are already seeing catastrophic loss of revenue and challenges in their profitability. But I think it's become the expectations, and if restaurants need to do it to make customers feel comfortable and safe, I think as an industry, most restaurants are doing and making the investments in whatever they need to do to continue to open and try and move forward.
So, Dr. Gandhi, I got to ask you, where we are right now, would you go in and eat inside of a restaurant?
I would if these principles were at place. So if there's ventilation, if there's 25% capacity, waiters and waitresses all have to mask, and they do. And then I would expect that they would ask the patrons to mask until it comes time to actually eat. With that spacing, with that limited capacity, and with ventilation, I'm going to go. I really want to eat in a restaurant.
Well, I think you are echoing what lots in the country are saying. And I just want to remind people, listen, even if you're not dining in, you can still, order takeout. That will support the restaurant also. So let's not forget that if you're still too nervous, order takeout. You'll still help the restaurant out. David, thank you for joining us. And Dr. Gandhi, as always.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.